So welcome back to DecoyNoise in another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for calling out a girl who was acting like a promiscuous person during a dinner at a restaurant? So as always, we're going to read the story in its entirety. We'll take it over the Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction, do the decoy defense where we do the inverse of that, read some top comments and the controversial comments and your comments down below, but let's go ahead and get to the story right now. So OP wrote, I, a 21-year-old female, don't make friends all that easy. I'm picky about who I want to hang out with because I believe you really need to vibe to be friends. That said, I'm not a normally mean person, just selective who I really let in my life. My boyfriend, a 22-year-old female, knows this and asked if I wanted to go to dinner with a few of his military buddies. We are both in the army, so this would be a great way for me to make some friends since I tend to vibe really well with other military people. Anyways, we go to this dinner at a family restaurant and there's 3 other guys and an Air Force girl. I crap you not when I say she was acting like a promiscuous woman all night and immediately didn't like her. Some examples of her behavior. Calls her 2-year-old kid a goblin and brags about how she pawns him off to other women because she hates how much he cries. Mentioned loudly and several times that she's slept with 2 guys also eating dinner, also very in-depth description of said encounters. Told my boyfriend she was gonna steal me from him and showed me a picture of her breasts. And also asked my boyfriend if she would do something very descriptive later, winked and slipped him her number. Okay. There's more, but for the sake of this post, I'll stop there. So at one point, one of the guys was showing us a picture of a guy's member that had been bitten by a snake. He's fine now. As a medic, I really wanted to see it purely out of curiosity. Yeah, whatever. She kept trying to get him to put the phone away and making a big deal about how we're in a public restaurant and it wasn't appropriate. I had had too many drinks at that point and finally snapped and said something, "Why the heck are you suddenly concerned about your public image? You've been acting like a promiscuous person all night and obviously you've seen plenty of those gentlemen's members. Can't you handle one more?" She got pissed off, left in a huff after throwing water in my food, called me a jerk, the guys all laughed and said that she had it coming, but I feel kinda bad. Am I the antagonist? And also, forgot to mention, she kept on grabbing one of the guy's genitals after he said no and just had a fiance of 5 years leaving for a friend. I apologize for not making it clear, but the rest of the group tried politely to get her to stop several times, both groping and comments. We were actually being fairly respectful, but she really took it to another level. Also, none of us were drunk, just having a few drinks with our meal. So, am I the antagonist? So as always, gotta take the case over to Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction to the situation. And to me, it's just one of those situations where, hey, sometimes you can have a very frat party type night, and if you're around a whole bunch of people, maybe like military guys, and you seem like you're just kind of hanging loose and doing stuff where it's like you can be that forward, I kind of get it where it's like, I'm not gonna act the way I do in front of frat guys than I would do in front of my parents or my grandparents or whatever. So I get that it's like, you know, you could see this behavior and be like, oh my god, I condemn it, it's so terrible, she's acting so promiscuous, but it's not appropriate. But like, you know, maybe it's appropriate in context. So not being in the military, not knowing how this whole situation is, I kind of would want to reserve judgment. But the simple fact that everybody here seemed to be not okay with it, and the idea is, you know, everybody has a level of what they deem permissible and not permissible, and she apparently had, hey, she can show her breast to somebody and slip some of the number and be very forward when she's like trying to hook up with people, but hey, a guy showing a medical condition on a cell phone, that's over the line for her. So everybody's entitled to their opinion, but just the idea that OP kind of shoved it in her face and said, hey, you're acting this way, you're much worse than us, my values are different than your values, but you know what, I'm correct. So it just seems like, you know, 2 people fighting over here. I guess the decoy defense for this had already been explicitly stated, to the idea that, you know, maybe everybody was okay with it. We don't really know. I highly doubt it because everybody seemed to be okay with it, but the idea is maybe everybody was vibing and they weren't getting drunk, but they were just vibing with a couple drinks and chilling out, and the only person that was very, very offended by it was OP because she tried to slip her boyfriend her number. But I mean, I guess you could live in the fantasy world of the decoy defense, or you could live in the actual world what this is. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, you know, OP is not the antagonist because somebody had to stop her, and only one person could probably stand up to her, and it probably had to be OP being a girl, because if it was like one girl kind of being too forward and grabbing at people and everything, it would probably go badly. Not in the sense of badly because everybody thinks you're wrong, but she was gonna take it badly. So if a guy stood up for her, she probably would have taken it all worse. But since the girl stood up for her, she was just like, oh, well, I'm gonna leave now and I hate you all, blah, 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 you know? So I think OP is the hero that we deserve in this situation, but as always, we'll take a short break right now. Be the hero I deserve by making sure you subscribe down below, but also giving me your comments as to what you think this story should be. If you like the new DecoyNoise, or you like the fact that we went back to this type of DecoyNoise, where I'm just doing Decoy Court and judging strangers online, because the world is a crazy place, but over here, we're just kind of having fun. So take the break, let me know what you think, and we'll get to that top comment right now. So the top comment is, everyone sucks here. Lots of rude behavior here for a public place. It sounds like she has a lot of issues and you didn't respond well, but then it sounds like you have some stuff to work on because you drank too much. You said it yourself, and we're part of the rowdiness. Sharing the picture in a family restaurant until you weren't. And you know, I actually do agree with that, so maybe I should rescind my original "you're the not the antagonist" one and say maybe everyone does suck here, because obviously the friend does suck and she's being too wild and out there, but I did forget the idea is this was a family restaurant. Why are you having that conversation anyway? Why are you letting them do that? Why are you like, you know, oh, I wanted to see that picture of that guy's stuff because I'm an army medic, so I want to know for the educational value. Well, it's a family restaurant, so maybe do that some other time. Do it in the parking lot, have them send it to you in private, whatever it may be. But it's just, yeah, everybody was being a little bit rowdy, and just because her level of what's permissible and OP's level of what's permissible don't mesh doesn't mean that, hey, I'm right and I can berate you, but you can't berate me because my level of what's okay is better than yours. No, it's all subjective. So go ahead and read a reply to that saying, for real, is this just the military culture or something? I was cringing the entire time. Like, it's all good, everyone is just sleeping together, etc. Getting drunk in a family restaurant and looking at pictures of a snake bite, name calling, etc. Like, reserve this behavior for your own home and don't inflict it on people at a restaurant. And yes, OP, I was cringing at your comment to her as well. It all seems so trashy, like everyone needs to learn how to behave in public. And that's the one thing I would say is I kind of reserve my judgment on that because it is military culture. I'm sure that all sorts of different groups have different levels of like how they have a conversation and what's okay or not. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so high and mighty, I get to decide what you can and cannot say. But yeah, I could see that being like if I was at a family restaurant with my nieces and the next table over was a whole bunch of military guys and they're acting and all that rowdiness, I'd be like, hey, that's a table of antagonists right now. Let's go ahead and read the next top comment saying, not the antagonist. Hypocrites are always the worst people to be around. The water in your food makes her the antagonist. No one likes watered down food, especially if it's curry. And the person said it was Mexican food. So even any food with water in it, they're just in an argument at that point in time. So that's not fun. Like, why are we all trying to get revenge on each other and like one up each other? You guys need to learn how to act like adults at that point in time. You guys are military people. And I think they said their ages were like mid to late 20s. So at that point in time, you guys should be able to handle your margaritas or your beers or whatever to just be able to coexist with families at a family restaurant. But the top comments have given us good perspective, made me change my mind. But let's go ahead and go to the top comment, which was deleted by the user, so everybody's kind of name calling now. The next one was, not the antagonist. While you probably didn't need to call it out, everyone is almost certainly thinking anyways, you weren't shaming her. You were shaming her for being a terrible person in general. So I agree with that. Next reply was, not the antagonist. If she couldn't handle being called out for her behavior, that her problem, especially at all that she didn't say. So the one thing I would say is, you can't let them incrementally get worse and worse and worse. If she says, I'm gonna steal your girl, and then show like a picture on her phone and then say, oh, I'm gonna steal your man, here's my number. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you don't want to have that like rowdy night with your frat bros or your military bros, stop it right off at the bat. Like, if we're gonna be mature adults, let's be mature adults. But if we're having a good hangout time, you don't get to dictate where we draw the line. I don't think they're really shaming her or anything or doing anything over the top negative to their friend, but I do kind of see how, why would she like want to crash the fun when you're drinking? Hey, now that we're drunk now, it's become too much of an issue. So, you know, as you kind of know, my opinion kind of sways around there, but as we get to the end of the video, I do want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this particular situation. But make sure you guys are subscribing down below and letting me know how you like this content versus the other content, because we did try something new. It was harder to put out videos and they just kind of landed flat on their face. I was hoping that doing less videos would mean more impressions of those videos, but that just did not happen the way I thought it was. So as always, making it to the end of the video, we're doing a little celebration of just likes, shares, hearts, arts, whatever it is. If you know someone that might like the content, please help support the channel by just sharing the link to somebody, or sharing the video overall, or sharing the channel overall, because as you know, I'm trying to grow the channel, have more people in on the conversation, so you guys can help me, the viewer, by helping share the stuff. So if you can, do it, but otherwise, just sit back and relax and watch the next episode of DecoyNoise. Coming up next.